Oh, man. We got a full schedule today, don't we?
Yes, sir.
Got a full
the
schedule.
buds.
Well, Nuggies, we got a lot to talk about today. Everything from bananas all the way down to race cars. So,
and everything in between.
Everything in between. Let's get kicked off.
The Savannah Bananas?
Yeah, man. The Savannah Bananas.
Savannah Bananas.
Bigger than that, this idea that they're starting their own league now, right?
Yeah. So it's up in full swing. They got 6 teams in it, and they're touring. They've got a thing coming up in Seattle at the stadium there.
That ought to be interesting.
And they sold out a 70,000-seat arena, the Titan Stadium.
You know, you were telling me that. I think we got an article on that, don't we?
daBudzEP.
To daBudzEP. We got our buddy.
We got Dustin running the show behind the scenes today.
He's producing for us today because we're useless.
Pretty much.
But on daBudzEP. So we got the Savannah Bananas. I don't know who knows about the Savannah Bananas, but they are basically the Harlem Globetrotters for baseball.
I heard somebody today refer to them as TikTok baseball, and I saw them getting a ton of hate online, and I don't understand it because people have beloved the Globetrotters forever, and they just bring a little fun to the sport, and they're fucking good.
They are good. That's the part that I love the most, and that's what I loved about the Globetrotters was that they had skill beyond just the game, right? They were bringing street ball skills to the game in a way that, I mean, white kids hadn't seen at that stage. It was kind of interesting to get to see that, and I think that the Bananas are doing the same thing. And now
the same thing, but the tailgaters, the party animals, the this, the that. There's 6 teams total. I don't know all their names, but the Bananas. Think about it too. If you go to a regular Major League Baseball game and you're going to see the Yankees, there's a good chance that Aaron Judge might strike out 3 times.
Yeah.
The Bananas, though, because it is like they're just in a city for one night, they don't have 82 games in one stadium.
Right.
They've got to perform every single night that they're out there, and in large part they do. And then they do a bunch of cool bits. They get the crowd involved. Yeah. If a fan catches a foul ball or in the air, that's an out.
That's an out for the game.
So, have you seen the bit they do where they bring in a celebrity hitter?
No.
Yeah. So they've done it with Ryan Howard, the former Phillies first baseman.
Okay, yeah.
Jacqueline Alano. I've got to butcher her name. Can't remember it, but she was a stud on OU softball team.
Okay.
They brought her in to hit for them a few times. She became, I think, the first female Banana.
Okay.
She played in several games with them. And
I love it.
They do a bunch of bits. I love the little backflip fly ball thing.
Man, all the bits. I love all the bits. Like you said, it's about fan engagement.
And have you seen the umpire? I mean, the whole time, in between every pitch, boom, 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 boom. And then the pitcher comes set, and then the umpire, boom, ready, strike, and then back to it. Boom, boom.
I wonder if I can find a video on that here later.
Oh, I'm sure you could.
Yeah, we'll have to check that out. No, I think that's something that you get. So, like, regular baseball game, regular sports. You're a fan. You're spectating. The most you get involved is the ball comes out, the wave, right? You catch a foul ball, the wave, this kind of thing. The announcer and the organ and all that, right? But you don't get to participate in the game as much. And in fact, if you do participate in the game, you're probably screwing something
You're probably
up.
thrown out.
Exactly.
Thrown out of the stadium.
So in this regard,
or you fall over like that guy at the Pirates game.
Oh my God, this clown! I kind of feel bad for him.
He's recovering. We can make fun of him now.
I still kind of feel bad for him. That's one of those before the decision and after the decision moments.
That's being a drunk 20-year-old.
Yeah, that's exactly what that is. Was that how old he was?
20? Yeah, he was only 20.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and at some point during the game, he was dumping beers on his head, and I don't know if you've seen the video, but a fan sitting behind him was recording when it happened, and they actually caught him jumping up, and that's when he slipped and tumbled over the rail.
I did see the view behind him, yeah.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate. Situation. Well, hopefully he doesn't do that at any of the Bananas games. That would just be that would ruin the whole atmosphere for everybody.
I do like some of the Banana bits. They sold out 70,000 seats there at the Titan Stadium. Before that, they went to Clemson. And I'm not sure if they sold it out, but I know they had a huge crowd there. But they did a little bit before the gates opened and the crowds came in that they put on TikTok, where one of their better hitters started at the 10-yard line and hit a ball through the uprights. Like he's hitting home runs through the uprights and then moved back 10 yards. Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
And then from goalpost to goalpost, he got it through the uprights hitting a baseball.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool to see.
Here's an interesting little stat here. Social media star power on daBudzEP The team amassed a massive online following, especially on TikTok, with more followers than all 12 MLB playoff teams combined.
Yeah.
That's outrageous.
Yeah.
That's absolutely outrageous.
They know how to make stars, and Major League Baseball is lacking at that. Name, real quick, right now, name 5 Major League Baseball players.
5 Major League Baseball
Five
players.
Major League Baseball players.
Why you got to put me on the spot? Jung.
Oh, you're going Rangers.
Well, I mean, that's pretty much.
Well, I was thinking from like a mainstream perspective, right?
Shohei
Ohtani, Aaron Judge, maybe Paul Skeens.
Okay, I'll give you Skeens.
And your casual probably doesn't get past that, right? Maybe Mookie Betts, maybe Freddie Freeman.
Probably not even them.
But, Freeman only because he had that grand slam in the series last year and his dad has all the story about his son.
Yeah.
But, yeah. I mean, you got a guy in Atlanta when he's healthy, Ronald Acuna, that goes 40-40. Yeah. And casuals don't know who he is, so it's kind of – baseball doesn't know how to make stars.
Yeah.
Like I said, you got your Ohtani, Judge, Skeens, maybe Mike Trout, because he's been around forever.
Yeah, good point, Trout.
That's about the extent of it. I mean –
yeah.
So, yeah, that's where the Bananas are succeeding. And honestly, Major League Baseball probably should take some stuff from them.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, not all the bits, obviously.
Not
right?
all the bits.
You don't want guys dancing to the Macarena right as they throw a pitch or whatever.
I kind of do.
Yeah, Macarena.
So, I mean, the Bananas aren't the only thing that's going on in the world of baseball these days. There's actually a lot going on in baseball. One of the big things that came up today,
about 6 hours ago.
Yeah. So let's talk about Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame.
So Rob Manfred today made an announcement. So this started off, Pete Rose's daughter and family attorney went and met with Rob Medford, whatever the fuck his name is, worst commissioner in sports, but went and met with him. And after some consideration, he said lifetime ban ends at death. So he removed the ban from Rose, from Shoeless Joe Jackson, and pretty much the rest of those 1919 White Sox, right?
Yeah.
Moved the ban from them. Here's been my take on this thing all along. The Hall of Fame's cowards. They're fucking cowards. And here's why. There was never a rule that you had to be eligible to work in Major League Baseball to be in the Hall of Fame. That rule didn't exist. Right, the writers, for whatever reason, they decided not to put Shoeless Joe Jackson, in the Hall of Fame. All it's just because of the gambling, right?
Yeah, right?
But there was not a rule that they couldn't have voted him in. And then in 88, 89, whenever it was, when Pete Rose voluntarily accepted the lifetime ban. Now, he said there was a backdoor deal, where the ban was going to get lifted after a year.
Yeah.
But the commissioner that supposedly made that deal with him died.
Okay.
Right? And the guy that took his place wasn't aware of this deal. Nobody but Pete Rose was, because it probably didn't happen.
But
but the Hall of Fame didn't have that rule, and then they made that rule because when Rose got the lifetime ban, a bunch of writers were like, we're still going to vote him in.
Yeah.
And so the Hall of Fame made that rule because they didn't want to go against baseball, It's stupid. The rule was put in place so guys that were gambling on the game couldn't negatively impact the game, right?
Right.
By having your name in the Hall of Fame, you're not negatively impacting the game. So I don't know that Rose, even in death, should have been reinstated back to baseball. I mean, it doesn't matter because he's dead. It's not like the Reds can hire him.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He should have always been in the Hall, though. All-time hit leader, Charlie Hustle, our dad's generations. That's their hero. It's Pete Rose.
Yeah. And I mean, it was their generation's hero.
How many Little League coaches did you have that talked about Charlie Hustle?
That was our
every
nickname.
Single motherfucker.
That's what they wanted to call us all. Like you said, get out there, show us something, Charlie Hustle.
Yeah.
Right? It was always, he was always the reference, and for good reason. I mean, the guy had no off button, and he had no half button.
Yeah.
Right. There was on.
Is the camera still on the board?
I don't know.
Because you can put that article up if it is.
Oh yeah, that's right. Let's put up the article.
Just a little visual of what we're talking about.
We'll go to daBudzEP0905132025. So yeah, decision on ineligibility status after the death of Pete Rose. Recently, what was it? I guess last year they had that documentary that that Apple put out on him. Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I think it was on Max, right?
It may have been on Max. I thought I saw it through Apple. Either way.
Yeah,
it
was really good. it really showed some of the darker sides of Pete and some of the stuff he got into with some drug dealing and and why he went to prison too. I mean, he went to prison for a couple of years there.
Yeah. It was a very honest look at him, and you know, the interesting thing that I saw in all of that, Pete Rose to the day he died was Pete Rose.
Yeah, 100%.
He was unrepentant 100%. For all of it.
Yeah, and it sucks that the Hall of Fame was such cowards and had that rule, and made that rule to bow down to baseball, because the way Pete made his living since the ban happened was autograph shows.
Yeah.
Right? And he could have charged a little more for those autographs if he could have autographed it Pete Rose, Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Right?
And no, you're absolutely right.
You know, I know that happens a lot in all sports, in professional wrestling and sports, where a guy gets that Hall of Fame.
Yep.
And now all of a sudden their public appearances go from $25 for a photo op to $125 for a photo op.
And I think, you know, this is the other interesting thing for me, is he was an entertainer, if anything.
Yeah.
Like, I think his effort on the field earned it, and I think his quality of entertainment demanded it. Mm-hmm. Right? I think that he deserved that title. I understand he broke the rules. Mm-hmm. I understand you don't gamble on sports if you're in the sport.
Yeah. I mean, and his defense was always, well, I only bet on my own team. Number one, I don't believe you, because you could have been betting on other games. But even if you're only betting on your own team, let's say you have a badass reliever like those Reds teams did that he was on.
Right.
Now you've pitched that guy 2-3 days in a row, but goddamn, you got a lot riding on this game.
Yeah.
Fuck his arm and his future. Get him back out there. I need this win.
Right.
You know, I need that dopamine hit of gambling and winning. And
do you think that it would have been any different had he not been so? He was very, I didn't do it. He lied for so long.
And then he admitted it. He finally admitted it, and then expected, because he came clean,
that everyone was
for the next day to become eligible for the Hall of Fame and back managing the Reds. He always, whenever you hear him talk, he'd always bring it up. Well, I could be managing the Reds today, you know. And it's like, oh, I don't think you can, Pete.
Yeah. Well, and then that's part of the interesting bit of the man, right? Is he had a level of arrogance that I think was just, you don't see it very often. But he also had the skill to match that arrogance. And I think that made him so much worse, because he thought he could do anything and get away with it.
And he worked his ass off. He's a big part of the, what's it called, Facing Nolan documentary that's on Netflix, or was on Netflix. I'm not sure if it's still there.
It was a great documentary.
But he's a big part of that too. And man, I mean, just when it came to baseball, the greatest pure hitter since Ty Cobb. I mean, he broke Ty Cobb's record. And you know, the closest thing we've seen to Pete since Pete retired was Ichiro. And I think Ichiro got to the bigs just a little too late. Too late to break Pete's MLB record. Ichiro holds the baseball record for hits if you want to combine what he did in Japan with what he did in MLB. You know, another thing about Pete, if I'm not mistaken, you know, everybody knows 56 games in a row. That's Joe DiMaggio's hit streak. Pete holds the National League record. And I believe it's in the 40s.
Okay.
So he had like 40 games in a row where he got a hit. Like, you know, just phenomenal batter, phenomenal player. He could hit for power, but didn't, because he understood the importance of getting somebody on base behind. I mean, think about those lineups that he was a part of. The old Big Red Machine with Johnny Bench and Joe Morgan, King Griffey Sr. You know, there's a cool thing in that documentary about him where, because you had King Griffey Sr., right? And then you had, was it one of the Alomars? There was like 3 future big leaguers hanging out in that clubhouse back in the day. You had King Griffey Jr., I think I think it was maybe Sandy Alomar and Robbie Alomar maybe. But yeah, it's on the documentary. It's pretty cool.
All right, so let's see. The Great 8. Johnny Bench, Joe Morgan.
Well, that's the lineup, yeah.
Yeah. Isn't that what we were talking about?
Well, I was talking about, several of those guys had kids that went on to play in the bigs. So in that clubhouse, hanging out as little children, you had King Griffey Jr.
Right, got you.
You had the Alomar brothers, I believe, or somebody like that. And so just they learned from watching those guys.
Man, what an experience that would be as a kid, you know? who was I listening to the other day? It was Ken Griffey. I believe it was Ken Griffey. He was talking about the fact that, when you're in a household that plays sports, you're getting exposed to sports at an earlier age. And he said, I knew everything I needed to know about baseball and how to get better by the age of 14.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I thought that was a really interesting statement because, at that point, you're just refining, right? You do get to a certain point in any sport, in any activity, where I'm good at it now. Now I'm just refining it, getting better at it. To think that you got to that place at 14 and then refined your game from there, I think is just an incredible statement.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna let him in.
Well, they still got to get voted.
They still got to get voted in.
And what he did some more research on. Now he's eligible. So with these guys, all these guys, because I think Sheila Stroh Jackson belongs in too.
Mm-hmm.
With all these guys, with the Hall of Fame, there's a certain amount of years that you're eligible to be on the ballot. Mm. And I don't know if that clock was running even though they weren't eligible to be on the ballot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know if they'll end up being on the ballot this year or if they will have to wait. There's a Legends Committee that years after the fact puts guys in. So they may go in through that Legends Committee.
Okay.
But either way, Rose will be in the Hall of Fame, and hopefully so will Sheila Stroh Jackson. If you go back and look at his numbers, they're Hall of Fame worthy, especially for the time period that he played in. I don't buy the whole Field of Dreams conspiracy theory that Joe didn't cheat. He took the gambler's money.
Yeah,
right? We know that.
Yeah.
And then you go back and you look at that World Series. I think he batted like 350. You know what I mean? But he didn't have a significant hit with runners on base in any game that wasn't a blowout.
Got you.
His team's down 7-8-1. He hits a 2-run homer. His team's up. Because back then it was a 9-game series, and I think it went all 9.
Okay.
So they he put up big numbers in some of the losses, but the guy that never struck out magically struck out late in games with runners on base when they could have won the game.
Yeah.
Got big hits when games was already out. So I don't buy that he didn't take the money either. But if we're putting him in now, he definitely belongs in. There might have been, if you go back and research it, maybe another guy on that team that deserved to be in too. I need to go back and rewatch the old John Cusack movie, 8 Man Out.
I've thought about that movie forever. It might be an interesting thing to go research, like you said, find out who on that team had those Hall of Fame numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So, was it the entire team that was banned?
There was eight or nine guys.
It was 8 or 9 guys.
That's why the movie's 8 Man Out or whatever.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but it was basically the starting lineup.
Yeah. That's interesting. And did they lift the ban on those 8? Or just
so on that article, there's 16 guys that they lifted the ban on. I'm assuming I didn't recognize a lot of those other names, but I'm assuming that several of them had to do with those White Sox teams. It did say in the article that Pete is the only person who died while on that ineligible list since the original baseball commissioner was in power, right? So yeah, it would have been in that same time frame that a lot of those guys played. Know, I'd have to go back and look at everybody that was on the ineligible list and why. And
there's a couple there, like you said, the names here. I don't know how to pronounce that. Sakote.
Yeah, they've got and their first names are all very 1920s.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Yeah, that's something we're gonna have to keep an eye on. I do hope that they get him in. I do hope that he gets voted in. The man earned it. He put the numbers up. He did a stupid thing. He continued to do a stupid thing. He paid for it.
If you believe his timeline of events, and not only just his story, if you go back and watch that documentary, they break down the timeline of when the Feds started catching on that he might have been gambling, and it was all after his playing career anyway.
Right.
That's why he should have been in the Hall, but not eligible to be hired in baseball.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they did not for the longest time. I just thought it was crazy that it wasn't that long ago that the documentary happened with Pete Rose. The man was alive, and now we're having this conversation.
He just passed in September.
Yeah.
And
now we're having this conversation.
I figured after he passed, something like this would happen.
It's the Hall of Famer scumbags.
Scumbag.
Speaking of scumbags.
So, dear sports fans, and bring it up here, okay?
Yeah.
I don't care how much.
Go to the board.
I don't care how much a player fails, right? If you go to a game, you purchase a ticket to a game, you got every right to boo that motherfucker during the game.
Yeah.
Right? If you approach somebody in public, or you pull this shit and you're sending dudes death threats.
So let's get a little further into that, because you're not only just sending the player death threats. These asshats had the gall to call out this man's family and say that they were going to find his kids and stab them to death.
Yeah.
Like, who the hell are you?
Well, because he had a bad game. Now, and here, when you dig into his story a little bit more, and it's Lance McAllister Jr. is who we're talking about, if you don't know. Pitcher for the Astros. He was thought of as one of the top young pitchers in the game, one of the top prospects in the game. I think it was shoulder injuries that kept him out.
I think it was.
And he's missed like 2 seasons. And this was his first game back from rehab, and working his ass off to get back. And yeah, he got roughed up a little bit. As a matter of fact, if you're paying attention to us on daBuds versus daRobots, that game, we bet the other side of it. I believe it was against Philly. But we were on the other side of that because I figured he wouldn't have the greatest first start back after everything he's gone through.
So he had Tommy John. He had a forearm injury as well in 2021. Didn't really say, but he missed out a significant part of 2 seasons.
Yeah, and then on what should be celebrated, the hard work, the testicular fortitude that he put in to work his ass off and get back should be celebrated, even if he did have a bad game.
100%. 100%. But then Astros fan can't have that. Astros fan can't have that.
And look, our scumbag this week is Astro fan, but every fan base has that trash in it.
Yeah, look, I think we're picking on
the Rangers,
the Astros fans for a couple of reasons.
Yeah, because fuck them.
We're not Astros fans, but this is relevant right now, right? Astro fan is doing this right now, and when you put this on top of the culture of cheating, the culture of scandal, like it just really drives home the point that Astro fan needs to get their shit together.
Is it Astro fan or is it trash can fan?
Trash can fan.
Trash can fan. When we put it up on the board, we'll put
trash can fan. That's right. So look, I know that not all the Astros fans out there are bad people. I need you good people to go find these asshats that are being bad people
and beat their ass.
Kick them in the nuts. Kick them in the nuts. Tell them daBuds sent you. Show them our socials. Have them come chat. Yeah. I mean, if you're going to threaten somebody, threaten grown men. Don't threaten their children, you piece of shit.
Yep.
Before I go any further down that road, man. So they're going to be on, we don't have the board up right now, but we're going to add them to the scumbag bracket. When are we going to start that actual bracket? We're loading it right now.
We got to decide if we want to get to 16 or 32 names. I think 64 is probably too much.
I think 64
and then I was thinking we run the bracket during March Madness next year.
Oh, that's perfect. I like that. So we got a little bit of time. Yeah, I agree. 64 is probably a bit too much.
Once we get into about February, we'll seed everybody.
Yeah.
Based on just how scummy they were.
Yeah.
You know, Trash Can Fan will probably be a number 1 seed.
Trash Can Fan's got to be.
If we go 16, there'll be 2 number 1s, right? So probably at this point, the leaders in the clubhouse for those spots. Trash Can Fan is Shit Lady.
Shit Lady. Yeah. She's topping the board. I still can't, man. That video came across my feed the other day, and it was just like there's 2 things I couldn't get over: how quickly she got that out, and this is what I'm saying. She came with one loaded in the chamber. That lady was ready to do this, whether it was a toilet or that car seat. She was going.
Apparently, she was on her way home to do that because she was having stomach problems. She actually said, I think so. I saw a guy that was on another podcast that I listened to. That actually subscribes to her OnlyFans. She sells feet pics.
You told me about that.
And apparently on her OnlyFans or something, she said that she pooped so efficiently on that car that the shit never touched her butt cheeks. When she got home, she didn't even need to wipe.
Well, I'll also tell you that it was an unhealthy yellow. So mama needs to go to the doctor. Oh, what a terrible, terrible situation.
And if you subscribe to her OnlyFans, do better. Just do better.
Yeah, do better. Yeah, seriously, come on, man. How many new subscribers do you think she got?
Dude, I'd hate to even look.
I want to ask that question. I want to find out how to answer that question
without asking her. Search her OnlyFans and see how many people have subscribed. I wonder if there'd be a way to see the analytics of when.
I don't know. Well, so here we go. We're going to do a search. It is how many new subscribers
does Shit Lady have on OnlyFans? I don't remember her real name. Get
after she shit on the hood of a car. I mean, we're just going to be as specific as possible. I love
very specific Google searches.
We're going to be real. And Google's like, what? Determining, not hit lady, shit lady.
gotta be shit lady.
Let's see what it says. It's difficult to say how many subscribers Christina Solimento, shit lady,
that's it.
gained after defecating on the car. Here's why. No centralized tracking, blah, 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 blah. So it's impossible to determine, which means we're just going to have to mail her a letter. I said mail. I'm going to snail mail that shit.
That could be a punishment for the board. Subscribe to Shit Lady's OnlyFans for like 3 months.
Oh, that is just...
I think it's only like $6 or $7. Get some feet pic.
We're not supporting that.
No.
We are not supporting that behavior. Good Lord.
Speaking of shit, so the NBA is rigged. The NBA is rigged. So I don't know if you guys saw my TikTok, but I was pretty passionate about this. The NBA is treating us like we're stupid, and it is nothing but sports entertainment at this point. So the Mavericks had a 1.8% chance of winning the draft lottery. Do you know how the draft lottery works?
I do not.
So I forever just thought, would they say, it's this much chance that there's 1,000 ping pong balls in the thing?
Sure, yeah.
And somehow 2 of them say Maverick.
That's what I would have assumed.
1 says Maverick, whatever, right?
That's what I would have assumed.
And no. What they do is they go on a combination of 4 numbers, right? And out of that 4-number combination, there's however many potential matches, right? And if you're the team with the worst record, then you get like 100 combinations.
Right.
And if one of your combinations is pulled, then you got the first pick.
All right.
And they only do that for the first 4 picks. And then after that, it goes just in order of shit record, right? So, for example, the number 1 team or the worst team in the NBA cannot pick worse than 5th if they fall out of that 4-person lottery.
Okay. I see.
Before they did the ping pong ball thing, they did envelopes, and you'd pull an envelope out of that and then open up the envelope, and it would have a team name. But draft lottery is rigged, if not the whole league. And there's an interview out there you could find with LeBron even talking about he knows it's rigged. I think it was when he was on McAfee.
Oh, that's right.
But beyond that, let's look at just some instances, right? And I've got a couple off the top of my head here. 1985. Right, the New York Knicks were in desperate need of a star. The NBA always wants to keep stars in New York or LA, right? Knicks were in desperate need of a star. The conspiracy theory says that they froze the Knicks envelope because that's when they were still pulling envelopes.
That was a big night for the NBA.
That's what I wanted to do.
That's when they were still pulling envelopes.
Yep.
They froze his, so David Stern, when he pulled it in, felt the cold envelope, pulled it out. Knicks get the number 1 pick. Yeah, a guy from Georgetown who was insanely famous on the East Coast, especially up there in the Northeast, and ends up at the Knicks, right? Okay, well, if that's the only one you're coming at me with, maybe I could say no. But wait, there's more. when LeBron from Akron, Ohio, a really shitty suburb of Cleveland, future generational talent coming out, his hometown team just happens to win the lottery to draft him. LeBron goes and plays in Cleveland for a while, leaves, joins Miami, and then decides he wants to go back home. Well, he's not going back home unless that team's championship caliber.
Right.
They had drafted Kyrie Irving a couple years earlier. They needed another piece. Boom, draft lottery. They win the number 1 pick, which they're able to package for Kevin Love, and that brought a championship to Cleveland. Right? Boom, he leaves. What happens? Cleveland gets the number 1 pick to replace him. He leaves. Goes to the Lakers, they get the number 1 pick again, right? And then you've got when the league owned the Pelicans, and I forget what year this was, but the league, there was a drama with the Pelicans ownership. The league took over. There was a trade in place to send Chris Paul to the Lakers. Mm-hmm. The trade got rejected by the NBA commissioner, David Stern, at the time because it was very unfair, imbalanced trade. They send him over to the Clippers instead, and then all of a sudden the Pelicans are awarded with the number 1 pick after getting their star to LA, right?
Yeah.
So then a few years later, the Pelicans trade Anthony Davis to the Lakers.
Right.
Well, boom, they win the lottery, get Zion Williamson.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And so it's one of those things, and I don't believe it's rigged every year, right? I don't think there's a world, especially in the 80s, where they would have rigged the lottery to give the Spurs David Robinson. Right, I just don't. But what I do think is,
that wouldn't have made sense in the 80s.
They said,
I mean, the market was so small,
right? Yeah. At that time. Now I do think though that they went, we got this quiet superstar coming out of college from Wake Forest. He needs a small place to stay where he can develop into a star. Boom, San Antonio gets Tim Duncan, and then I think with Wemby they were just doing bits. They were like, hey, let's give the Spurs another potential Hall of Fame 7-footer. Right?
Yeah.
But there's a lot of evidence to it. I forgot the Chicago one. There was another young phenom coming up, world beater, fucking generational talent coming up from Chicago, who happens to get the number 1 pick that year. Bulls, right?
Go figure.
Yeah, and so they get Derrick Rose, who was an MVP, phenomenal until he had, injury issues. But yeah, so that shit's rigged. And here's the thing about it, Scott, or Jolly. What do you believe? Okay, so there was a 1.8 chance that the Dallas Mavericks were going to win the draft lottery. Do you believe that the NBA rigging the lottery, the chances of that happening, is greater than 1.8?
I think it's got to be.
Yeah,
I think it's got to be.
And we didn't even jump into why that's bullshit. So when the Mavericks were shopping Luka, right? They only spoke to one team. Not even the team that could give them the most draft capital, give them the most players back. They only spoke to one team and didn't get anywhere near value back for them. That one team just happened to be the Lakers, a team in LA with an aging star. Imagine if LeBron retired before there was a superstar in LA to replace him. Lakers would be dog shit. The league can't let that happen. Right? So, we'll get Luka there. Hey, Nico, Dallas ownership. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. We're going to make it right on your end. How's Cooper Flag sound?
Yeah. I agree with you. I think there's too many. Number one, there's too many people in that arena, the NBA arena, that are saying it. Right? There's players, there's analysts, there's podcast commentators. There's way too many people saying it. So it's interesting because even when you compare that to things like the refs are in it for KC, right? Conspiracy theory as of late. Right. It has nowhere near the energy and the legs that this conspiracy theory has had.
For the NBA's had other issues, right? The referee thing,
right.
Tim Donaghy, betting on games,
yep.
all that jazz. For a league that gets cheating scandals and cheating accusations a lot, they do a really shitty job of trying to make it look like they're not cheating. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I guess the question becomes now is, do they keep doing what they've been doing and just let it slide?
Yeah,
or do you think that we're actually coming to a place where they're going to have to answer for some of this?
No, I think they're going to keep doing what they're doing.
You think they're just going to keep doing it?
They're going to keep doing what they're doing. Who was the? I think it was a comedian one time that just said, "Deny."
Yeah,
right, and that's what they're going to do. They're not even going to deny it. They're just not going to acknowledge it. Right.
Yeah. No, that's true. Now, the next question then becomes, because the odds weren't very good for the Spurs to get number 2.
No. So their odds of jumping up into the top 4 was like 8%.
Yeah.
8%. A little more believable than Dallas.
But all the same.
But, yeah.
I mean, if you look at, the interesting thing to me is how stacked San Antonio has been for a while now from a draft perspective.
You know why? If there's if the fix is in place for the Spurs, you know why it is? You want your superstars in the playoffs, right?
Sure.
You want your superstars in the playoffs. The Spurs got Wemby. They got another up-and-coming superstar in Fox.
Yep.
They got, reigning rookie of the year, Stephon Castle. With that number 2 pick and that rookie of the year and the number 14 pick.
Right.
You're looking like Giannis.
I mean, I think that's going to be a thing. I think you have the perfect package.
And now you put him with Wemby and Fox. I don't like the idea of giving up Castle. We talked about that last week. But you put him with Wemby and Fox.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden that is marketable.
Yeah.
Right? You've got and you've got, Giannis is that quiet superstar, kind of like Duncan, right? I don't ever see a lot about him in the media.
Right.
It feels like Milwaukee was a great place for him. Where
just
else in the
get it done
league?
Consistently.
Right. Where else in the league though is going to have that environment? San Antonio.
Yeah.
It's not Dallas. It's not Houston. Maybe OKC.
Maybe I was going to say maybe OKC.
Not even maybe. They're small in San Antonio. I mean, and their fan base is.
Yeah, but you also got to think
loyal.
But yes.
Yeah. But Chris Paul loved it there. But I think it shapes up for the Spurs to get it done.
Yeah, I do as well. I think that's going to be big. The only question mark that we have there is with the.
Hey, did you put the camera back on us?
The issue with Wemby. What was it? Blood clot. The blood clot.
Yeah. So everybody's just assuming he's going to be back at full strength, and
that's the assumption. Yeah.
Similar to what Chris Bosh went through, and he was never the same in his career early. But we talked about in another episode. There was 2 or 3 other guys in the NBA that had blood clot issues too, and I can't recall who they are at the moment. But
yeah, I mean, it hasn't. Folks that have this issue don't fare well long term in their career, which that is on top of the fact that I've always felt that Wemby was going to be an injury risk anyways. So tall, lanky, not a lot of meat on him.
Yeah, he needs to put some meat on the bones.
And he plays.
But not too much, then he'd be too heavy on that frame.
Well, exactly. You can't put too much because then he can't do what he does. But the way he plays, the level of aggression at which he plays, and particularly on defense, he's setting himself up for injury. So I think that he's always going to remain an injury risk, even if this blood clot thing didn't happen. So that has to come into perspective as well. Well, what better way to kind of hedge that than a Giannis?
Yeah, true. But when you get past the top 3 picks of this draft, it's kind of weak, right? But in those top 3, there's some playmakers. There's some difference makers. So the Spurs really need to sit down and examine, does this kid with Castle, with Wemby, with Fox make us greater than not having not just the 2 pick, but you're going to get quality at 14 too, not as much. But so does the quality we get at 14 and 2 with the trio we have greater than giving up those 2 picks, giving up Castle? And now, you know what I mean? And that's where you really got to examine it. I've told you before, my concern is Giannis and Wemby kind of play similarly where they both like to start outside, move inside. Right. And when you got both your bigs doing that, I don't know that it works.
Yeah. One of them, I would say Wemby probably because he's the youngest. He has the fewest habits instilled. But I figure you can change his gameplay a little bit. One of them is going to have to be your banger, and I don't think it should be Wemby.
Yeah.
I don't think it should be Wemby.
But the Greek Freak's never been much of a banger either.
It's true. No, that's true.
So you got to look at that, too. Did you pull up those names?
Yeah. Who for
to the
board.
To the board.
So, I mean, number 1, right, we've got Cooper Flagg. That everybody knows about Mr. Flagg. Generational talent. Is going to do some incredible things if he can keep himself healthy. Dylan Harper. I don't know as much about Dylan Harper.
That's the cat that I've seen a lot of people saying the Spurs are going to take. So Dylan Harper was a guy that probably in any other year wins the Naismith Player of the Year award, right? Where was he at? Maryland, I think, or
Rutgers.
He
was at Rutgers.
Yeah, and then at number 3, they got another Rutgers guy, possibly. What was the? There's a kid from Houston that might fall in there that was pretty good, I think. But yeah, you just gotta break it down, get your scouting department, your advanced scouting team to go through the motions there and just figure out what's better for you. The other thing not to rule out, I've seen some whispers about this today, is ignore all the arguments about the lottery being rigged. Let's say for a moment it is not rigged. Now you've got a general manager with that number 1 pick that just made the worst trade in NBA history.
Yeah.
And sending Luka over.
Yes.
So who knows what he might do with that pick? Maybe he goes and says, hey, Milwaukee, why don't you rebuild with Cooper Flag and give us Giannis? Right?
Man.
So there is that possibility too, because you don't know what Nico's going to do.
You don't know what Nico's going to do.
He's kind of a wild card.
He is a wild card.
A maverick, if you will.
But now you really have to think. Like, does he look at this and say, if it's not rigged, like you said, if it's not rigged, then he has to look at this and say, I have a second opportunity. I cannot fuck this up.
Yeah.
Because the man almost got himself executed for this.
I think he was getting death threats too.
He was. Yeah, he had to hire a private security.
Yeah, for his family.
A private security firm for his family, yeah. So he absolutely was. Which, again, we've talked about that. That's just bullshit. I don't know why people do that. But I do understand the frustration of, somebody making a long-term decision when all you can do is see short-term. And I think that's what was happening, whether it's the right one or not.
And if the Mavericks keep that pick, and you're looking at a team of Cooper Flag, Kyrie Irving, the big that they got in the Lakers trade, Anthony Davis, or is it AD? Davis. Yeah, and Klay Thompson.
Yeah,
that's a pretty good 4 right there.
Yeah, it really is.
And plug in your 5th, but so the Mavericks are, the Mavericks. It's crazy too, because they went from being in the NBA Finals to the number 1 pick.
Yeah,
like that, and if they do the pick right, and they keep those pieces, and they take Flag, they're immediately a contender in the West too.
I mean, he comes out looking like
that's the
roses,
other issue too.
Smelling like roses.
If Giannis goes, I mean, all the teams that have the assets to get him, right? Houston, San Antonio, Dallas, and Oklahoma City, they're all in the West. So that's another superstar coming West. There's almost no superstars in the East that compare to what the West has, because Oklahoma City's got Shea. The Lakers have LeBron and Luka.
Yeah.
The Spurs would have Wemby, Fox, and maybe Giannis, right?
Yeah, yeah.
The Rockets could possibly have Giannis. The Mavericks would have Kyrie, AD, Giannis.
Yep.
The Golden State still got Curry. The West would just be far superior to the East, especially with what happened in Boston last night with Tatum.
Man, that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate. It does look like it's an Achilles injury, ruptured Achilles. It does sound like he had a successful surgery this morning. Good for him. Yeah. I'm glad to hear that. The kid is all strength. I love watching him play ball, but he was the only thing that team had in this series.
Yeah, I wasn't watching.
Died on the court.
I wasn't watching the game last night. I had on a baseball game instead, and then you texted me.
Yeah,
and told me what happened. It was like, oh shit, and then I jumped over there.
The crazy thing is, I think it was in the third quarter. They were up by like 13 or 14, and things were looking really good. They looked like they were in control, and then New York did what New York does, and they just took the momentum back, and they got scrappy. And Tatum, trying to do too much because the rest of his team couldn't, was putting himself. The thing is the maneuver that got him injured wasn't a risky maneuver.
No.
But I do believe that he was pushing himself harder, and he was putting more miles on himself than he needed to.
Well, because he's
the only thing they got.
That game they were down 2-1.
Yep. Exactly.
With the loss, now they're down 3-1 in that series. Without him,
it's
no
over.
chance to come back. With him, if they went, go down 3-1,
right,
it's probably over. So he knew that and was fighting with everything.
That's exactly it. He was going with everything he had, and it just hurt him, which is unfortunate. I do like Tatum. I like the way he plays ball.
Ball player.
It's unfortunate to see that happen to a good player, but it's part of the deal. It's part of the game.
Yeah,
part of the deal.
When I was a kid, like my grandparents moved here when I was pretty young, got Spurs season tickets, so they were Spurs fans, made me a Spurs fan. But my dad, growing up in Oklahoma, it was before the Thunder were there. No NBA team. I don't even think when he was a kid, the Mavericks weren't in Dallas yet, so there was nobody close to him. So he just adopted the Celtics when he was a kid.
Okay.
Probably because Larry
A lot
Bird.
of people did.
Well,
yeah.
our last name's Bird. You know,
Yeah. That's true.
different spelling, but
That's true.
it's probably why.
Yeah.
You know, and so because of that, I've always had a fondness for the Celtics. As a kid, I loved Cheers. I still think it's the greatest sitcom of all time, and Kevin McHale was on a lot of episodes.
Yeah.
And, you know.
Yep.
But yeah, so I typically cheer for the Celtics if they're not playing the Spurs.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I could see why. I loved Larry Bird, man. I still, to this day, I love watching his videos. One of the things I love the most about Larry Bird is how other athletes talk about him.
Yes. I went down one of those YouTube, TikTok rabbit holes about him.
Yeah.
Dominique Wilkins talking about when he was a rookie. Bird was just in his shit telling him, hey, Rook, I'm gonna run a screen. I'm gonna bounce off of it.
Telling him exactly what he was
gonna do. That corner right there, and then boom, in your face.
Then he'd do it.
And then he would do it, and it would just be like, all right.
Well,
he used to send like the ball boys from the team and shit. Like before games, he would grab them and go, hey, go find out what the scoring record is for this building because I feel like breaking it tonight.
and he would
do it. And he would do it.
That's the level of arrogance that you like to watch, but you hate to experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If he's doing that to your team, you know.
Right. So before we transition here, I think we would like to get a word from our producer. Anything to say?
Hello.
From our producer, straight to you.
My man said hello. He said hello to the people. You're doing a great job, D-Money.
Got our guy D-Money back there taking care of us on the cameras. We are
spinning the ones and twos.
Technologically illiterate, so we're trying to make all this work as in when. And we needed somebody to hit the buttons. So we appreciate you stepping in, my friend. Very last minute. We appreciate it.
He's a beast disciple.
A beast disciple.
Yeah, he learned everything he knows from Mr. Beast.
Bro, you're hired. You're hired. So let's talk some football, man.
Football!
We got a lot going on in the world of football.
A lot going on. You have the Derek Carr retirement.
Derek Carr. We've got some announcements. They put out some of the schedules, some of the games that are coming up. The Cowboys
so the
versus
full
Eagles
schedule. They've only announced one game. Opening day of the NFL. You know, they always do that Thursday night prime time extravaganza. They've announced Cowboys Eagles is going to be in that spot tomorrow. So
I don't like
this will probably be uploaded on Wednesday. So on Wednesday, they're announcing the rest of the schedule. But we know that game. We know that there's going to be a Friday night game in Brazil that's immediately, or the Friday after that opening night.
Right.
The NFL made a cool announcement today. That game is going to be exclusively on YouTube. YouTube and YouTube TV, right? But it's not going to be on any network. And it'll be the first NFL game that's streamed completely for free. Okay. I think about any other thing that's been streamed, you had to have Prime or Peacock or Netflix. Now, you can just log into YouTube. You don't need an account or anything. Yeah. And I'll be really curious to see what the views are on that.
That's a good question. Yeah, because, like the analytics behind it.
Yeah, I'll be really curious because, you can just go to it and it'll show you right away.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm thinking upwards of 20 million.
Oh, it's got to be more than that. Yeah, it's going to have to be more than that.
So that'll be cool. Really cool to see.
Yeah.
Cool thing. Okay, so a little tidbit here about the Cowboys-Eagles opening the season, okay? Somebody did an analysis on the last 10 years of primetime games, right? So we're talking Thursday night football, Sunday night football, Monday night football.
Okay.
And then your one-off, your late night Thanksgiving Day game. They're doing Christmas now. That Friday night game in Brazil, right?
Yeah.
So the last 10 years of primetime games, the Cowboys and Eagles have met more than any other matchup in primetime. 9 times in 10 years.
Really?
Number 2 on that list, Cowboys and Giants, 6 times. Right? And what this shows you is, number 1, the league loves them the NFL East. Or NFC East. Sorry, NFC East. Number 2, Cowboys make money. Cowboys draw eyeballs, right? Because you either love them or you hate them. There's no in between.
No, Jerry's made good.
They have
made certain of that.
Yeah, they have a delusional fan base that thinks they're going to win the I almost said the World Series, the Super Bowl every year.
Better chance of winning the World Series than the Super Bowl at this point.
And because they're so hyped and because they're on TV so much, a large part of the country just hates them.
Yeah.
Just hates them.
Yeah.
And here's the thing.
Agreed.
When you're watching sports, you need a rooting interest to really enjoy it.
And everybody
And if
loves
your
a
team's
heel.
not playing, you watch to cheer against the Cowboys. Right?
Absolutely.
And it is what it is. And you know, the delusional fans that think Super Bowl's happening, maybe. There's a rumor out there. And if it gets done,
yeah.
Who's stopping that offense? Who's stopping that offense? You got Lamb. You got Pickens. You got Ferguson, and maybe Brees Hall. Are we going back to the board?
All right.
So
this is the NFL kickoff. Do we have
it's the next one. It's the next one.
There we go. There's the trade.
So Jerry Jones, before the draft, alluded to that the team was working on 2 big trades. Right. And then it came out later that those trades probably were involving a wide receiver and a running back.
Right.
We know the wide got done. Right. The Pickens still got done. I'm not convinced if it's going to work out, but it got done.
I'm not mad at it.
Not mad at it. Well, and they're being smart with it. He's only got 1 year, I believe, left on his rookie deal.
Yeah.
They've already said they're not working on an extension right now. They're going to let that rookie deal play out. If it doesn't, they gave up a 3rd-round pick for this next year's draft for him.
Right.
And then like a 5th round in 27, I think it is, right?
Yeah.
If it doesn't work out and he leaves as a free agent after this season, the Cowboys actually get a compensatory 3rd-round pick back. So all they would have essentially done is move back in the 3rd round.
So there's very little risk.
Not a ton of risk. And a very high reward. If it doesn't work out.
I do love the upside for him. I think he's going to make a legitimate option that frees up CeeDee Lamb more.
And the new rumor that second trade might be Brees Hall. Now,
this would be amazing.
This is why it makes sense to me, right? Everybody knew that there was an issue with the running game last year, right? Just if you watched them play, you know that was a thing. This offseason, the way they addressed that is they signed the kid Williams from Denver for like $3 million.
Yeah.
I think they brought in, Sanders from Philly, Miles Sanders, I think.
Yeah.
And then they drafted the kid Blue from Texas in the 5th round, right? And they've got like a 5-man running back tandem, but you don't have that real every down back. You don't have that guy you can depend on. You've got guys that you can do in spots.
Right.
So it would make sense to bring in somebody like that. Now, the downside to Hall, every year he's been in the league, his yards per carry has gone down.
Yep.
He's essentially already been replaced as the starter with the Jets. And so, or at least is in like a 50-50 committee thing, right?
Yeah, it's 50-50. Yeah.
And so, but
I guess
that combination
it's by committee, though.
Yeah, with that combination of other guys, you could put Hall in there and still have somebody to give him a breather, right?
Right.
You've got the kid they got from Texas, that Blue.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's as fast as a fart, right?
Yeah.
And he would bring a change of pace.
It's really interesting to me to see how, you look at the off season for the Dallas Cowboys and you see how Jerry does business.
Miles Sanders is who I was thinking of.
Yeah. You see how Jerry does business with the deals and the contracts. But you and I have talked about it. You've said it many times in the past. Jerry works good trades. Like, he's able to work what's available out there in the market and bring it together in such a way that you find, you're like, man, Brees Hall, I wouldn't have thought of that. Who was thinking about that, right?
Yeah.
And like you said, you add him into what we have already, and
that's an elite offense.
It's an elite offense.
If everybody stays healthy.
Right.
If Dak doesn't go full Dak, that's an elite offense.
Yeah, so that's going to be another question. I don't know if Dak's gotten out of his head from last season. I mean, he was just in such a bad place last season, but that's a whole different discussion. Yeah, no, I think that this is going to be great. I actually like the way our offense is coming together, and I will tell you this. If Dak can't pull up his big boy pants on this offense and get his shit together, he needs to be run out of town. I don't care how much we owe him. It's ridiculous. He consistently has shown us that he's not a postseason quarterback. This is the season. Jerry seems to be setting him up for success.
Yeah.
Which I didn't think was coming. I thought this year was going to be a disaster.
I liked the draft a lot.
Yeah.
You know? The kid Blue that they got in the 5th round, I think is great value. Jaden Blue out of Texas. And I think that's phenomenal value there. You put him with Javonte Williams, Miles Sanders, that's a decent running game.
Yeah.
But if you put Breece Hall there,
real good running game. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a real good running game with depth, right? With depth. Yeah, I think that's going to be really interesting. I hope that they can get this deal done. It'll give me, I've also talked about this. I mean, I've been a Baker fan, thus a Tampa Bay fan for the last couple of seasons because I'm just tired of watching my Cowboys get decimated the way they have been. I'm tired of watching the senile old man, pull rabbits out of the hat. Like, it's stressful, and they never seem to be able to get it done. This feels like a really good opportunity. I'm not that fan. I'm not Dallas fan that says we're going to the Super Bowl, baby. No. But I think we have a legitimate postseason run here.
Yeah, I mean the problem is the division, man.
Yeah.
It's a tough division. You got to play the Commanders twice and the defending Super Bowl champions twice, and the Giants will be better this year.
The Giants are going to be better this year. Yeah, that is actually a really good point. The Giants are going to be better. Washington, I think, is going to be phenomenal.
I'll be curious to see if Jaden has a sophomore slump.
Like a regression.
Yeah, like Houston still made the playoffs, and CJ Stroud was not as good this year as he was his rookie year. I think year 3 will be a big step forward for him, and you see that a lot, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm curious to see if we see that with Jaden Daniels.
That's a good point. It's very likely. All things staying the same, I think that they're certainly a contender. They're a threat. But you're right. That's always possible with your rookie quarterback regressing for a year. It'll be interesting, man. Yeah. I'm looking forward to this season.
So we've touched on this trade that the Cowboys did make.
Yeah.
Right, for Pickens, which value-wise, everything looks great on paper. We'll see where it goes. CeeDee Lamb and Pickens together, right? A top 5, top 10 wide receiver duo in the league. We got an article up with some. I've got some written down as well that I've kind of put into tiers.
Yeah.
So we'll go with the article. We go with what I got written down here. I would like to see your thoughts, right, on where you would rank this. So I've got it in tiers here. My first tier, I think, is less than CD and Pickens, right?
Okay.
The tier that's less than. Let me see what you think here. Nico Collins and Christian Kirk with the Texans. Now, I would have the Texans duo higher on the list if it was Nico Collins and Tank Dell. But Tank Dell tore up his knee last year. Is going to miss the season.
Right.
They signed Christian Kirk out of A&M in the offseason. He put up okay numbers with Kyler Murray in Arizona. Then he went to Jacksonville. Really didn't do anything there. To me, that's less than, right?
So let me make sure to clarify that where we're going with this. Are we going to do numbered 10 to 1, or are we going to do just the greater than, less than?
Well, we certainly can. Or what I'd like to see is if you would think some of these, I have some of these tiers wrong. That maybe one of these belong in one of these other tiers.
Got it.
Or that I got the Cowboys duo wrong. Right?
All right, hit me.
So do you agree on Kirk or Collins and Kirk?
Yes.
All right. Kansas City, Rice and Worthy.
Ooh, that's dangerous.
Do you like that better than CeeDee Lamb and Pickens? Because to me,
no.
CeeDee's far superior to Rice and Worthy, and Pickens is better than both of them too. Right?
Yeah,
so that's why I say they're in the less than. Right?
Yeah, I agree with that.
So then we jump to the 49ers.
Okay.
Brandon Ayuk and was it Jennings?
Yeah, look, I like Juwan Jennings a lot, but certainly less than.
Less than, right?
Yep.
All right, Atlanta.
Okay.
London and Mooney.
London's real good, but still less than.
But is he better than Pickens?
No, and it's still less than.
Still less than, right?
Absolutely.
And then we go Seattle. They got Cooper Kupp in the offseason.
Yep.
They're going to partner him with Smith. What is it?
Njigba?
Yeah.
I think
you had it queued up because you know I was going to kill it.
Yeah, no, I think that one is also less than. Look, You said it earlier, and I agree with it. Cooper Kupp is he's a question mark right now, and I don't know enough about Njigba to say anything good or bad about him. So I have to put him less than.
This next category I have has the potential to be better than, but is not right now.
Okay. All right. I like this.
So we're going to start off with Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter with the Jags. I know you're a big Travis Hunter guy.
I am a Hunter guy.
Hey, speaking of real quick, for your thoughts on that, did you see the story about Travis Hunter on the airplane the other day?
Such a stand-up dude.
Man.
Yeah, so I don't know if y'all did get to see this, but if you didn't, go take a look. This kid sat on an airplane, had a conversation with an old lady.
He helped her put her bags in the overhead and helped her get her tray table down. And she didn't even know.
She didn't know it was him until they got off the plane and people were congratulating him.
People were congratulating him walking when they were boarding after he put up her bags. They were high-fiving him on the way through.
And she didn't know what was going on. And that kid just sat there, like you said, took good care of her, had a good conversation with her. She says that there was not a bone of arrogance in him. Like that,
she said when she finally kind of started piecing it together, she asked him, "Are you an athlete?" And he said, "Yes, ma'am. My name's Travis. I just recently got picked by the Jaguars."
Yeah.
Not, I'm the Heisman Trophy winning Travis Hunter, who went number 2 overall to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And is maybe one of the best athletes in sports.
Yeah,
right?
and the crazy thing is that he has more claim to that than Shador does, and I guarantee you Shador would have been just all over the place.
Based on all the reports, right?
Yeah, I guess that's true. I haven't met either of them personally.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, though. I agree.
But I am a Travis Hunter fan. You are absolutely right.
So that's why, a couple of young receivers on the way up.
Yeah.
Young quarterback. I would still take CeeDee Lamb and Pickens right now.
I agree.
But if we jump ahead 5 years in the future, we might be having a different conversation.
Maybe not even that far, but I agree with you. Yeah, Travis Hunter has a massive upside. So I agree with you. They're not there yet, but they have that potential.
So here's my next one. And this one, if we were able to go backwards a few years and have a younger Terry McLaurin and a not so injury prone Deebo Samuel, right? I would say might be better. Yeah. But as of right now, they're just in that maybe, but I don't think so.
Yeah, no, I think you're right there. So the interesting thing about Deebo Samuel is, again, the injury. You're right. But he's used in some weird packages where he looks more like a running back, right? So from a receiving perspective, yes, he is a good receiver. I want to see how the Commanders are going to use him. I don't think they're going to use him as regularly as a receiver. I don't think he's going to be that good of a combo with McLaurin.
Yeah, I think you might be right. I'm not a big fan of it. Like I said, we'll see how it works. Again, their quarterback might be in that sophomore slump like we discussed a little bit ago.
Right.
We'll see how it works. I think it does make Washington better, but I don't think that duo is going to be better than the Cowboys duo.
Now, I agree with that. Now, to your point, and Scary Terry was my guy several years ago, when he first came out, and nobody could get him the ball.
Dude, I drafted him like in the 11th round in fantasy this year, or 10th round or something.
I picked him up as a rookie in one of our fantasy.
And he had a monster year this year.
I love that guy.
He's awesome. He's fun to watch.
I don't think I agree. I don't think that they're better than
CD and Pickens, at least on paper right now.
Right.
This next category I have, this is the grouping that I put CeeDee Lamb and Pickens in. So we'll go through these. There's 3. Oh, no, I forgot somebody in the other, maybe one real quick. Okay. Evans and Godwin with Tampa Bay. Now, real quick, I think last year that they would be ranked higher, right?
Yeah.
Godwin's coming off that knee injury. Yeah. We just don't know. We don't know what he's going to look like, how long he's going to be on the field. They drafted a rookie.
That one's a hard one. I think I still go. Oof.
To me, if we were to rank those 4 players individually, right? To me, it's CeeDee Lamb, Mike Evans, every other year Godwin, and then Pickens. And then if you go, well, Evans is a whole lot closer to CeeDee Lamb than Pickens is to Godwin, then that Tampa Bay one's better, right?
Right.
But with Godwin's injury, now I think it's CeeDee, Evans, Pickens, Godwin. And that's clearly advantage Cowboys.
Man,
Right.
that injury does play a massive role. So, yeah, I agree with you. The injury has the potential to make them a lesser, but all things being the same, I do think that they are a better duo.
Now, this next group, there's 3 here. This is the ones that I would have them in the mix for, right? There's 3 that are clearly, in my mind, better.
Mm-hmm.
So this would be in the 4, 5, 6, 7 range.
Okay.
If we're ranking top 10, okay?
Yep.
We'll go through these one at a time. You tell me, is the Cowboys duo better than Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle?
No.
So you take Hill and Waddle over Lamb and Pickens?
Yeah.
I don't, because I think Hill has clearly lost a step.
Hill has lost.
He's trying to get out of there. So I think, again, it's CD, it's Hill, it's Waddle, it's Pickens, but the distance between Pickens and Waddle is minuscule, where the difference between Hill and Lamb is a mile, right? In my mind. So I would say ours is better, but you're going to go the other route?
I think I am, because of the explosive capability of Hill. I think he has a much bigger, much larger upside.
Okay. So this one as well. Amon St. Brown and Williams there in Detroit.
I think Dallas. I think the Dallas duo is better.
That's so funny, because I'm the other way.
Really?
I'm the other way. I still think out of those CDs, the best of the 4.
Yeah.
But what St. Brown and what Williams do, they do so well.
Yeah.
And it works so good in that offense.
It really does.
That I would put Detroit at 4 and maybe the Cowboys 5. The next one we're going to talk about in a minute 6, and that Miami one at 7 if it's me, but it's all subjective. Well, why do you like the Dallas duo better than the Detroit duo?
Yeah, I like the Dallas duo better because I think that there is Amon St. Brown. I
always fuck it up.
Is an incredible receiver, but he doesn't always have the best quarterback throwing the ball at him. Now, last year, that was...
You talking about in Detroit?
Yeah.
I think I'd take Jared Goff over Dak Prescott right now.
Based on last season. But he has...
Based on every season.
I
in the league.
Definitely disagree with that.
Goff had the Rams in the Super Bowl.
Dude, there's... No.
He was in the Super Bowl. So you think Dak Prescott's better than Jared Goff?
Yeah.
Oh, my God, Scott, I thought I knew you. Man, that's hurtful.
It's hurtful.
It pains me when my friends are that wrong. It really does. Man, you really think that?
Yeah, I do.
I think Goff is leaps and bounds better. I think Detroit probably would have been in the Super Bowl last year had it not been for so many injuries and everything. But no, I would take if we're starting a franchise and I got to pick a quarterback and the 2 best on the board are Jared Goff and Dak Prescott, I'm taking Goff. I don't know their numbers offhand, but from the eye test, Goff makes better decisions. Yeah.
Yeah, Goff does well, but not under pressure. Again, last season he seemed to have cleared that. But
the season before too, when they beat Kansas City on opening night and they made that big playoff run.
They had good games, but
they
Goff
was
still making bad decisions.
I disagree. I disagree. What are their career INT numbers?
That's what we're looking at. Let's see. Come on. I'll get that pulled up. One moment. Stat head, huh? All right, head-to-head stats comparison. Oh, this thing isn't loading. When we cut this in, we're going to cut a little loading symbol in.
So I got one here that says golf. From an expert's recommendation, golf is 93% over 7%. For just this, it's this fantasy pros or fancy stuff.
Well, that one's not working. Let's go to this stats comparison. It's actually not that easy to get just stats side by side. So while I'm doing this, let's go to the next duo.
So the next duo is the most interesting to me, right? Because this is a duo that we haven't seen together yet. much like the Cowboys duo. So the Rams, Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams. So this is another one where I do think CD is the best of the four, but I think that, then I think it's Puka at this stage of his career, then Adams. And I think the distance between Pickens and Adams is much greater than the distance between Puka and CD. I think the Rams combo is better than the Dallas combo.
I agree. No, I agree, and I think that one's. I think Puka makes that pretty clear.
Yeah.
But like you said, the chasm. I don't want to call it chasm, but the gap between Pickens and
the cavern.
A cavern is that's a pretty wide gap. That's a pretty wide gap.
Yeah. Now here's my list of the three that are 100%, or not 100%, but are undisputably in my mind better than, right? To me, there's not an argument that can be made that the Cowboys duo is better than these three duos.
Okay.
All right. Third on that list is A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith with Philly.
Okay.
Do you agree?
Yes.
Better than? Okay. Second on that list is Minnesota's duo of Jefferson and Addison.
Ooh. Yes.
Because to me, almost every other duo we've looked at, if you went individually, CD's the best one.
Right.
I don't think he's better than Justin Jefferson.
Definitely not better
right?
than Jefferson.
And so then it's, Jefferson, CD, Addison, Pickens.
Yeah.
And then to me, the best wide receiver duo in the league, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, 100%.
So at best, the Cowboys duo is fourth. I think sixth. Because I put those three, and then I know you disagree, but I go Detroit's duo, then the Rams duo, then the Cowboys duo. So to me, they're the sixth best duo coming into the season.
I think that's a fair assessment. I think that's really a fair assessment. And in fact, I think that there are arguments to put them higher.
Yeah, I mean, you were trying to lay out arguments to put them over Detroit. I think there's some valid ones there. I think there's some valid ones to put them over the Rams. I don't think there's a valid argument that puts them better than that top three.
No,
right?
I agree with that.
If outside of injury, right? Like if AJ Brown tears up his knee.
Yeah, and I think that all things being the same is the easiest way to go about that. But injury is going to play a factor. But if you're just looking at pure talent and capability and upside, all the positives, I think that you're right. I think that fifth or sixth, I think, is a very good place for them. And let's be realistic, fifth or sixth isn't bad, right? I mean, that's a very strong duo, and they have an opportunity this year to move themselves up that list, right? I think that they have the ability this year, just based on kind of the way the roster seems to be working out. I think that they're going to have a really balanced team, and I think that CD and Pickens are going to have many opportunities. And as long as they, as long as they do what they need to do, I think that they could move up on that list. There's going to be some that are never toppable, right? You're never going to be compared. I don't think you can compare our guys to Justin Jefferson. I don't think you can compare him to Chase. So at best, I would assume that third or fourth would be as far as they could get. Probably fourth. Just kind of thinking about how far they could progress up that list. Now I'm trying to find all-time stats, and this just is not going to work.
Yeah, I found a couple sites that were showing active leaders in QBR and passing percentage, and Prescott's ranked higher in both than Goff is. But I still just eyeballing it, watching how they each play. I would take Goff.
Yeah, look,
Prescott shies away from putting his head down and running with the ball sometimes.
I think if you told me postseason, then I would agree with you wholeheartedly. Dak just can't do it in the postseason. But as a regular season quarterback, Dak is solid.
Yeah, he's solid. But as a regular season quarterback, he's never helped the team advance to the places that Goff has helped some of his teams advance to. When he was with the Rams, they made it to the Super Bowl. They lost that Super Bowl, but they made it to that Super Bowl. In Detroit, not the season that just passed, but the season before, they made it to the NFC Championship game. right? Like, so I don't know. Once I will entertain the conversation once we see Dak play beyond the divisional round, right? We've seen him in the wild card. We've seen him in the division. Let's get into a conference championship game.
Yeah, look, I think that's fair. We get into the discussion of best all time, or we get into the discussion of best in class, even.
Yeah.
I don't think Dak fits into that.
No,
right?
No, not at all.
But I do think that your quarterback has to be considered when you're talking about your wide receiver duo.
Mm-hmm.
So now I've just
for the purposes of our discussion, I was doing more of like you put these two with any quarterback. Where if they're all playing with the same quarterback, where do you rank each duo?
Okay.
But I get what you're talking about too.
But yeah. So I asked Copilot daRobots to put together some stats and a comparison for us. So pass attempts about the same. So Dak has 41-59. Jared Goff has 46-46.
Some more yards.
So he's got more yards. He has more completions. So Goff has 3,047 completions versus Dak's 2,780.
What's the difference in attempts? Because Goff's in an offense that throws the ball a lot more.
So the interesting thing here is the completion percentage.
Yeah.
68% versus 65. So they're really close. Passing yards, let's see, interceptions. This will be interesting for you. 82 for Dak Prescott, and he's an interception machine.
Mm-hmm.
94 for Jared Goff. And this is where these are the decisions, right? And I think I would bet anything that at least 30 of those are off pressures.
And for Goff?
Yeah.
Oh, but I bet you that number's higher on Prescott. Like, he makes some god-awful decisions, too. I mean, I've seen him hit linebackers in the chest before with the ball.
Yeah, I mean, that happens.
I love how when we're talking about the guy, I'm trying to figure out, no, he makes shit decisions. And then I point out when you're like, that'll happen. It's just AIDS.
It happens. Passing yards per game. Yeah, look, the reality here is that they're both actually pretty comparable quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. Which, to your point, kind of levels that playing field. It takes away my argument of Goff being a potential risk to that duo. Yeah. Very interesting. Speaking of daBudzEP.
Hey, real quick, because you're right. The stats are comparable.
Yeah.
So to me, it comes down to one thing: winning.
Okay.
Winning. So I looked it up, right? Dak's got Jared Goff. Prescott has a record. His career record is 76 wins, 46 losses.
Okay.
Goff 81-52-1. He had a tie in there. Jared Goff in the playoffs, they're both 3-3 in the playoffs.
That's weird.
Yeah. I didn't know Dak had 3 wins.
I didn't know. I didn't either.
So that's an interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting because the more we talk about it, the more we research, they look pretty comparable, which is kind of weird.
So then you only go on the eye test, and me personally, like I watched a lot of Detroit last year. Last 2 years, I watched a lot of Detroit really because they were a big story both years, and just the eye test to me, Goff looks better.
The last 2 years, there's no doubt Goff has been a hands down better quarterback. He played well in that team. His team did a good job for him, and he did a good job for his team. Yeah. And it allowed him to really shine. Outside of that team, it's questionable. But daBudzEP. How is the betting going, man?
Yeah, man.
How are you doing versus daRobots?
We had a 500-day yesterday. I gave you guys 10 bets yesterday. We went 5-5. So the numbers are a little off because there's some days where like AI will give me 8 or 9 games, and some days it'll only give me 1 or 2, and there's some days that I like 5 games and they only like 1, and So, but right now their record is 84-75-3.
Okay.
And our record is 87-81-3.
Okay.
So we can do some quick math and figure out that winning percentage, but.
Sure, why not?
But we're a solid 6 games over 500, and they're 9 games over 500. So it's weird. Lately, they've been giving a lot of home run picks that have been hitting, and they've hit at a fairly decent rate at those. As a matter of fact, they gave 2 today: Olsen in Atlanta and Aaron Judge with the Yanks. I also put myself at a little bit of a disadvantage, not making any excuses, but I try to every day. It's not always possible. I try to find a parlay for the people every day. Right?
People need a parlay, bro.
Yeah,
you're always a parlay away.
Just a parlay away.
Just a parlay away.
So if you were paying attention to the socials, today's parlay was Cubs, Reds, Rangers. Rangers are currently up 3-1 in the 5th, going into the 6th. Reds are playing the White Sox. They're currently down 1-0 in the bottom of the 4th. But I still feel confident they'll come back and win that game. And the Cubs are about to lose 2 in a row to the Marlins, so we might lose our parlay. They're down 4-2 in the top of the 7th. I didn't think there was any way the Cubs would lose 2 in a row to the Marlins. But yeah, I try to do that. And I also try not to give games that have too high of juice unless I'm putting it in a parlay and bringing it to a plus number. For example, today the bots liked Atlanta. Atlanta was minus 227 on the money line. That's a lot of juice you're giving up. So for example, what that means, minus 227, is you would have to bet $227 to have the opportunity to win $100, right? And so that's a lot of risk for not a lot of reward in a game that when I looked at, there wasn't a huge advantage for the Braves. They are currently winning. But so that's why I ended up staying away from that game. I thought about including them in the parlay instead of the Cubs. With the Cubs, I probably should have gone the other way. But we'll see. Neither one of those games are over yet. But yeah, that's kind of the line of thinking behind it. What we have been hot at lately is the Neffies. The Neffies. I do love me a good Neffie. So for those that don't know, Neffie stands for no runs first inning. It is a great bet to make. You just need 6 outs, baby. Just 6 outs, baby. And so we actually did do some Neffies today, and I haven't checked on them. Okay. We can check live on the air here.
Let's see what we've done.
Brew Crew and the Clevelands.
Yep.
Let's find that game here.
I am going to
Cleveland scored in the first inning. St. Louis and Philly. Was that one of the postponed games? Yeah, that game got rained out. Nats and Braves. God, Washington scored in the first inning. Yesterday we went 5-0 on these picks.
Today we are going.
Arizona, San Francisco hasn't started yet.
Okay.
Tampa Bay and Toronto. We hit that one. We hit Tampa Bay and Toronto.
Okay, all right.
And the last one is the Angels and – or no, I'm sorry. The Angels and the Padres, which is about to have first pitch here in about 20 minutes.
Okay.
But yeah, it's if you're new to betting, and there's so many ways to lose a baseball bet, right? With it just being such a long game.
Yeah.
9 innings and stuff. So Neffie's a fun little bet. Just watch the first inning. Another one that I like to do sometimes, if you maybe know a team has a great starting pitcher but a shit bullpen, you can bet it through the first 5 innings.
Okay.
So there's a lot of fun stuff there. But we're doing good. Like I said, we're 6 games over 500. The bots are 9 games over 500, and they were below 500 like 2-3 weeks ago. And about a month ago, we were below 500.
Yeah.
And so just baseball's the toughest sport to bet on because teams play every day.
Yep.
And like, basketball, for example, right? Teams also play every day. But they don't have 5 different guys that rotate in at point guard.
That's right.
Who's starting point today? Oh, it's their number 3 point guard.
Yeah.
Right?
That's right.
And so...
No, you're right. There's not a lot of as much lineup variation as you get out of baseball.
Yeah.
Certainly on a game-to-game basis.
Yeah, and it's very rare. Like, you'll have guys in the NBA get called up from the G League, right? Their developmental league. Not impact guys.
Right.
They're impact guys that would have been in the league. You do have random guys that'll get pulled up from AAA or AA that are top prospects that are going to be immediate impact guys that you have to take into account when you're betting on baseball too. So it's a little hard, but it's been fun. Fun little thing to do. The robots are currently beating us, but we're profitable. So
profitable is a good, when you're getting beaten.
Yeah,
being profitable is
pretty makes money.
Well, it's good. It's good that things are turning around. We need to get on top of these bots, man. We cannot let the bots take over. We just can't let it happen. I mean, did you see that robot that was trying to fight its people?
Yeah.
I don't know what happened with that, but it did legitimately look like that robot was trying to get their asses.
So one of the bots games today got rained out. They lost another one. Yeah. They're going to hit on Atlanta, it looks like. The Yankees game hasn't started yet. And the A's game hadn't started yet. Neither is the Dodgers game. So they've got also... And sometimes the bots pick bullshit bets. Not bullshit bets, but like a lot easier props that have big-time juice, right?
Yeah.
Like one of the props that the bots picked to bet today was Shohei Ohtani over half of a run.
Okay.
So basically, Shohei Ohtani is going to score a run today, according to Copilot. Right?
Okay, sure.
So
once you it's not going to let me do it. Trying to load this video with the robot.
Oh, where he was throwing. There it is. I can see the reflection, right?
I just can't get it to play. Boo! Well, yeah, for those who have not seen it, there he goes. There he goes. Look right here. Look at the board. Look at that.
He's trying to beat up his handler.
Oh, well, this is new.
Now they're dancing.
I haven't seen this bit yet.
Yeah.
It was that bot that was trying to beat people up.
It's like when Shamu kills his trainer.
Yeah. So look, we can't let them rise up. We got to hold them down in the betting because they're rising up at the dance there for whatever reason. Man, so we've got some interesting updates coming on the race car. I actually have a house full of stuff right now. New rims, new panels. I've gone to a group called All In Design here locally. I'm going to be working with them to get the wrap on the car done. All of this is coming together for the June 19th race. I think we're good to go. I don't think there's going to be any issue hitting that date.
Nice.
Yeah, no, I'm really stoked about it.
You guys come out to the raceway on June 19th. We will have some bids planned. And if you're lucky, you'll get to meet our producer, D-Money.
D-Money will make sure that he's there. He'll be handing out T-shirts and hats.
And beers.
and beers. People will be very disappointed when they learn how old D-Money is.
Did you see the video of the kid at the Rangers game?
No.
So at the Rangers, at their stadium, they've got field level boxes.
Okay.
Right? And there's one right behind home plate. So the seats are kind of raised up, and underneath there's a box. And basically, you can see everybody from about shoulder up, right? Okay. So this kid's sitting on a stool, and this little two-person table. He's sitting there by himself. His parents have their back to him. They're watching the game and conversating at the next table. There's fucking beer sitting there. And this kid looks all of 9, 10 years old, maybe a little older, maybe like a 7th grader.
Yeah.
He grabs that beer, just boop, right on TV. Puts it down. Parents never saw a thing until it went viral. I'm sure he's in trouble now.
That's amazing.
Say, yeah, look at the young man enjoy the beer.
High five.
But yeah, it was pretty funny.
High five. I'm a fan. I mean, how old was I? I think my uncle set me up with my first drink, and I couldn't have been more than 6.
I don't think I was in elementary school yet when I had my first beer with my dad, honestly.
Yeah. That's those are different times, I suppose.
Yeah, I was backwoods,
that's called
Oklahoma.
Abuse these days.
Yeah.
It's just a good time on a Friday night.
Yeah. Shit, mine might have been a Tuesday.
But yeah, no, man, things are good with the race. Looking very much forward to that. All the engine work is done. We've got a little bit more tire work to get done, and then here in the next couple weeks, we're actually going to get it out for some test laps. I'll have the GoPros and whatnot set up for that, so we can see how bad I am at this. But then, yeah, man, the go time, June 19th at I-37 Speedway out in Pleasanton, Texas. Come on, show up.
Yeah, nice. We've got some other stuff coming up as well, some content ideas. We might go to a local rodeo this weekend and maybe get some footage there. The middle school that Jolly and I went to is being shut down, and they invited everybody that ever went there back to walk them halls one last time.
We're hoping we see some of the teachers that hated us.
If any of them are still alive.
Actually, we were talking back and forth with one of them.
Yep.
Mr. Dubboard.
Dubboard.
Exactly. He's going to get a kick out of that.
Oh, wow. Well, anyway, we got more coming up. There's a lot in sports going on this week, too. Saturday, we didn't even have time today to do a preview for it. Saturday's the Preakness. Jolly and I haven't even told Jolly yet, but Jolly and I and my dad are going to throw some money together again like we did on the Derby. We're going to get y'all some Preakness winners.
All right.
This weekend is also the PGA Championship that we'll put out some picks online for that as well.
Yep. I've got to get all my picks to you.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we're gonna get that going on. We didn't have time with everything going on in football, baseball, and basketball to even get previews for that into the podcast this week.
Yeah, we'll get some shorts out to you guys on those things. We'll make sure that we get that content out to you for sure.
Yep.
All of that'll be coming up this week. It's gonna be a busy week.
Yeah. Stay tuned on X at daBudzEP0905132025, TikTok daBudzEP0905132025, YouTube daBuds, and we got a Facebook that we got going on, a Facebook and an Instagram now. Do you know those?
You would call me out on that. I don't have it right now, but I will get it posted. I'll make sure that we get that out when we tag all this and put the information in on YouTube. Yeah, we'll make sure you get that because I'm ill-prepared. It's kind of what I do.
Sounds good. You hear?
Yeah. No, it's glitching. Yeah, no, really appreciate it.
Glitch.
We looking forward to bringing you this new content. We'll definitely catch up with y'all this weekend.
All right, remember you're only a parlay away. Thanks for all the help, D Money, and we will catch y'all down the road.